Every co-owner vested as a joint tenant or as community property with the right of survivorship has the right to unilaterally sever their right of survivorship. The reason for this change may, for example, be issues of inheritance, a desire to see the share of equity given to children or grandchildren. The severance by a co-owner unilaterally terminates the right of survivorship in their co-owner's interest. On severing the right of survivorship from the co-owner's interest, the nature of the co-owner's separate or community property interest in the property remains unchanged. A co-owner unilaterally severing their right of survivorship is not required to first give notice or seek consent from the other co-owner or co-owners. To sever the vesting, the co-owner prepares and signs a deed from themselves as a joint tenant or as community property with right of survivorship back to themselves. The deed revesting title includes a statement noting the transfer is intended to sever the prior vesting. On recording the deed, the right of survivorship is severed by the mere revesting of the co-owner's interest. Again, to unilaterally terminate the right of survivorship expectation held by other joint tenants, the deed severing the right needs to be recorded. The unilateral severance of a joint tenant's interest is either recorded in the county where the property is located before the death of the severing joint tenant, or recorded within 7 days after the joint tenant's death when executed and notarized within 3 days before the joint tenant's death. Additionally, the joint tenancy may be severed by agreement of all joint tenants. A written agreement to sever the joint tenancy that is signed by all the joint tenants does not need to be notarized or recorded to be effective against all joint tenants. To terminate the right of survivorship for community property vesting, all the rules for recording a severance joint tenancy fully apply to the severance deed of a spouse. Without the existence of the right of survivorship, each co-owner disposes of their interest in the property on death as they wish, such as by will or inter vivos trust or by the severance itself. Also, the sale and conveyance of a joint tenant's separate property interest in real estate severs the joint tenancy. In contrast, a lease or mortgaging of the property by a joint tenant does not sever a joint tenancy.